Hi everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to our last week in our Walking on Sunshine video. Oh, this has been such a fun sew along. I've had so much fun going through this mini quilt with you guys. It's been a blast and I've loved seeing your versions of the quilts as you've shared them. And I can't wait to see even more as you guys finish up and as we get all of our quilting done and binding and everything like that. So this is a sew along. Oh, I didn't even tell you who I was. My name is Bev McCullough from Flamingo Toes, and I'm streaming live right now to Facebook in my Facebook group and on YouTube, but the videos are available for you to watch at any point later if you'd like. And that goes true for all of our videos here. All of our sew along videos are available for you to access at any point. So don't stress if you're not ready to quilt your quilt this week. So I want to say hi to some people. Wendy's here from chilly New Jersey. Goodness, Wendy, I'm sorry it's cold. It's gotten a little colder here than it has been. So it's been a little chilly here in Tennessee the last couple of days too. And Dolores and Sari's here. Oh, I'm so glad. She said that she's inspired to get back into embroidery. That's awesome. And Candace and Pam, Tina's here, Dawn's here, Sewing Minnesota. Poor Dawn, I feel like every time you say hi, it's snowy Minnesota. So much snow there. Oh goodness, when we were deciding on where to live in Tennessee, or where to live, I definitely needed to be like either on the 40 or below because I don't handle cold very well at all. I was born and raised in Arizona, so I think I have a little bit of that lizard blood. I'm not sure what that qualifies as, weird probably, but yeah, I don't handle cold very well at all. So more power to you there, Dawn. She says every week, no sign of spring here. Kathy says she's really enjoyed it. Oh, I'm so glad, Kathy. That's awesome. We have been making up a mini quilt from my book, Make It Mini. This book came out just last fall. There are 13 mini quilts in the book, and all of them have a little bit of embroidery. But for each one, I also give you a tip for a way to make the quilt without the embroidery. You can add other details, fussy cutting. You can add machine embroidery if you happen to have an embroidery machine. There's lots of options for finishing out the quilts, even if you do or don't want to use the embroidery. So this is the book. It's available in my shop. I have it linked in the video description and also in every blog post about the sew along, so you can find that easily. And my shop, just general shop link, the main shop link is also at the bottom of every video, so you can check that out too. So Make It Mini, that's our book. And in the book, this is the version. Let's see if I can get back here far enough. I'll just cover up my face. This is the version that I made for the book, and this is Christopher Thompson's fabric called Saturday in Paris. It's from a couple years ago. It's beautiful with these blues and pinks and even like some aqua. I love it. And I have an embroidered center here. We went over embroidery last week, so if you are at the point where you're ready to embroider the center of your cute little blocks, you can check out last week's video for that as well. And then I also have my version that I made this time, and we're going to talk today about different ways to quilt our quilts and how to, just some different tips I have for quilting with embroidery and some different ideas for how to quilt, and also some thread ideas for you guys. So lots of fun things to talk about today, and also a fun different finishing method. One of my people on my blog tour did a really cute method of finishing with this, and I'm going to show you guys that, and we're going to talk about that too. So it's going to be super fun. Lindy says hi. Hi, Lindy. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Lisa. Janice Carroll's here. Sad to end the sew along. I know, right? Me too, Janice. So I am thinking, so it's very busy when we have two sew alongs going on at once, and we're going to start our next sew along, which is a quilt along at the end of April, and that is with my Meadowland quilt that I designed to go with my Sweet Acres fabric collection, which is shipping to stores this month, you guys. I'm very excited, obviously. So I can't wait to show you the fabrics in person. We will do a video here soon where we'll just look at fabric and I'll show you the patterns and the fabrics for Sweet Acres, and it's going to be a blast. But that will be our next big sew along, will be Meadowland, and then we will also do a sew along that starts, like, let's see, I have a Halloween collection that comes out in May, and I can't remember exactly when the Halloween sew along quilt, it's called Spooky Lane, and I believe it starts in July. In my Facebook group, I have a little calendar of our sew-alongs, and I will put an updated one out since we are almost done with both of the current sew-alongs we have going on right now. So, things to look forward to, but we will also do another sew-along from Make It Mini. If you have the book, which I assume you do if you are watching our videos and you sewed along, definitely leave a comment and let me know which quilt you would like to do next. I had some ideas I was going to show you. I will switch cameras here. So here's the book, and I was thinking we could do a couple things. One, well, there's several options. Trying to find ones that would go well with a sew-along, right? So that you could break it down into weeks. But I thought my Home Sweet Home would be a really fun one, because it has these cute house blocks. It has a Dresden block, but it's a quarter Dresden. So if you've never done Dresdens before, quarters and halves are the way to go because they're so easy. You don't have to connect all of your little pie pieces here for the Dresden in a circle. You just make your quarter, and it's awesome. So we could do Home Sweet Home. We could do this one. This is the little, what is this called? Beautiful Day. This one is really fun. It is a little bee one. So that one is cute. We could do Blooming Heart. This one has very small pieces of embroidery. So these pieces in the patchwork section over here are little embroidered hearts. So this is a really fun, this is a small one. It's only 14 by 14. So it would be a fun one to do. Very sweet little one. And then the other option I thought we could do is the Garden Rose. That one is really cute too. You guys can't hardly see that. Sorry, it's not really, there we go. Now you can see it, it's a little better. So this one's really cute. It has the plant grow bloom. You could choose to embroider whatever phrases you would like. Oh, sorry, I'm not on the screen. And I think those would probably, we could also do this Sweet Orchard if you wanted to do that one. So lots of choices in the book, right? This one was the first one we did, the Spring Flowers, and I really love that one. We did that one last fall, and I did a fall version of it. So I love that one. That one's really fun. And then this one has a little bit more embroidery. It's called A Fresh Start, and it has a lot of flying geese in it. But this one is a fun embroidery design. We could do that too. Lots of them, choices. So y'all vote in the comments and we'll pick another one to do. And we'll probably do that like late spring, early summer. So that's when we'll do our next evening one. And I think that'll be awesome. Oh, let me switch back here. Okay, oh, let's see, you guys are voting. Lindy says she loves the house and Dresden, and Dawn loves the Blooming Heart. Lindy, she said you could embroider the names of the kids. Oh, of your kids, that's a great idea. Yeah, that's super cute. Wendy likes the plant grow bloom. That one's fun. Let's see. Janice said that she hopes to sew live with me in Stitch in Heaven. Okay, Janice, that would be so fun. Okay, I'll tell you guys what she's talking about. So we're doing a sew along at the end of April with my Meadowland quilt pattern. But if you wanted to wait and sew with me in person, I am sewing at Stitch in Heaven. I am teaching a retreat for the Meadowland quilt in August. And you can find out, you can go to Stitch in Heaven. That is a fabulous quilt shop in Texas, and they have a really cool retreat center. and they're just finishing a brand new retreat center, and we're going to be in the new retreat center. I think it's 5 days and 4 nights or 4 days and 5 nights. We're going to make up the Meadowland quilt together, or as much of it as we can get done. And I'm going to do a trunk show, and there's a really great, there's all kinds of cabins, and it's beautiful, and I'm so excited. So if you guys wanted to come sew with me in person and you want to make up that Meadowland quilt, check out Stitch in Heaven in Texas. Put it on your calendars and book a room, because I don't remember the exact total, but I imagine as it gets a little bit closer, that's going to fill up faster and faster. So check it out if you want to come sew with me in person. We would have lots of fun. Oh, let's see. Kathy says she loves the house in Dresden as well. Teresa says, oh, she's like, hi, Teresa. And oh, lots of house with the Dresdens. Janice says 5 nights. Okay, thanks, Janice. It's 5 nights. Chloe said home sweet home. It sounds like you guys are kind of in between those two. Onabuko's here from Tokyo. She says it's warm and the temperature will go up to 71 Fahrenheit, they say. Ooh, that sounds nice. I would like that. Okay, every week, you guys, we do a giveaway. It is my way of saying thank you guys for tuning in, and just a little thing that I do because I appreciate you guys joining with me so much on these sew-alongs. I know you guys have a lot of choices on people to watch and projects to join in with, and I just really appreciate you guys spending time with me. So I have a little giveaway, and they're really easy to enter. All you have to do is leave a comment on the video, and any comment works, as long as it's a nice comment. And you can do that on Facebook or YouTube, and you can do it live or later in the week. I always announce the winners the following video. For this one, I will announce our winners for this week's giveaway in Monday's video, because we won't be having a next week Wednesday video because it's our last week. Sadness. Okay, y'all, so for last week, our giveaway was, I have this fun box of Crayola fat quarters. So Riley Blake has a licensing partnership with Crayola, and they have this box. These are the colors in the box. You can see them on the back there. Isn't that cute? Such a beautiful collection. So these are kind of their vintage colors, and I love them. They have Jazzberry Jam is one of my favorite reds. It's kind of a pinky red. They've just got so many good colors in here. It's a little rainbow for you. So there are 10 fat quarters in here. Then I have Cindy Cloud is the owner of Riley Blake, and she's designed a fabulous seam ripper, and it's even patented. It's super cool. So you can kind of see it from the side there. It's small. It fits right over your finger, and it really makes unpicking easier, much easier. I love it. I have a little pink one. This is a white one, and it comes in a couple different sizes. There's small, medium, and medium large. This is a medium large white one for you. And then I also have this beautiful collection of DMC Etoile. I don't know how to say that. You guys will have to bear with me. There are 35 skeins in here, and oops, sorry, that was loud. And they're beautiful, you guys. And it is a different sort of floss. It's not regular 6-strand floss, though I think there are 6 strands. It's a much thicker floss. So let me see if I can get that close enough that you guys can see it. There's a bit of a sparkle to it, and it's kind of, you can see down here by my fingers, there's a lot of extra texture to it. So it's really pretty. It would add some very fun texture to your projects. And of course, there are 35 colors here, so you have a rainbow of colors to play with as far as what to make. So lots and lots of choices. Okay, it's beautiful. And our winner this week was Jeanette, how do you spell it? Withrow. Jeanette Withrow. Jeanette was watching, I believe, on YouTube last week. So Jeanette, if you're not watching live, if you're watching later in the week, definitely send me your mailing address. My email is bev@flamingotoes.com. and I will get your prize out in the mail to you this week. Thanks for tuning in, Jeanette. Sorry, I got an itchy eye. All right, you guys. So yay, Jeanette. So I usually do a big giveaway for our last finale before we finish up, and so I have very cool things for you. I have a roly-poly, which is the same as a jelly roll, of Enchanted Meadow for you. You can see the pretty colors, lots of pinks and blues and aquas. I'll turn this so you can kind of see the collection. Enchanted Meadow is my fabric collection that came out last year. So pretty blues. And I have a roly-poly of Daisy Fields. This is the fabric that we're sewing with for our other sew along. So that's Daisy Fields. So 2 roly-polies for you guys. And I have one of my favorite quilt patterns I've ever designed. It's called Windows to the Garden. This is a really cute patchworky kind of design, and it is a pattern that is designed well, not exclusively, you can use yardage, but it's designed to work with roly-polies. So you could pick whichever one of these you wanted. I mean, you'll get them both, right? But you could make up this pattern in whichever one you want. And you just need to add a little bit of extra yardage for your star points because the quilt is so scrappy, it really helps to have those star points all the same. So you'll just need to buy a little bit of yardage and your background and stuff. So that's my Windows to the Garden pattern. And again, you can find that in my shop. You can also find the Daisy Fields and Enchanted Meadow roly-polies in my shop. And also from my shop, I have an enamel charm for you. This is my little sewing machine charm. It is a very cute little enamel sewing machine, and it's even got a little quilt on it. Excuse me, and it's got a gold little lobster clasp. So you can put it on your bag, your keychain, your jacket, whatever you'd like. So it's a cute little charm for you. So if you would like to be entered into the giveaway, you can just leave a comment and I'll announce the winner on Monday at our video for our sew along, which are always on Mondays at 2 p.m. Central Time. So if you aren't joining in with that sew along, but you are commenting here, definitely check back on Monday to see if you were the winner, because that's how you find out how to get your prize. Oh, Judy. Yay, I'm so glad. She says she likes both of those fabric lines. So pretty. Oh, I'm so glad. Yay. All right, you guys. My eye is itchy. All right, let's talk about quilting. So I showed you at the beginning of the video the quilt that I made up for the book. This is the quilt that I made for our sew along. This is At First Sight Fabrics from Danny Mogstad, and it's a beautiful little floral collection. I love the mix of greens and pinks and then the black. It really has a fun pop to it. So I quilted this on my long arm regalia with a little pattern full of swirls and flowers. I'll show you on the overhead camera in just a minute. And I did go ahead and I just stitched straight over the embroidery. And you probably can't even tell right now, but it is, I'll show you when we switch cameras, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then I also did binding. There is a stripe in her collection, and I cut it on the bias so that it would kind of be that diagonal stripy binding. So let's talk about quilting. And I'm going to switch over here, and I'm going to scooch so you guys can see me a little better. Okay, so you can see here a little bit better the quilting here on the one that I just did. So I used white thread because I haven't found an invisible thread to use on the quilting on the long arm that I really love. So I did use white Aurifil 40 weight, and I stitched out a couple of rows, and I made sure, which you can do on a smaller project, it's a lot harder to do on a big full-size quilt, that one of my rows was going to kind of hit in the center across the center of my quilt because I only wanted to deal with sewing over my embroidery once. So once I had stitched up to about here, I slowed the machine way down so it was very, very slow. I don't remember the exact numbers, but very slow, which made it go over these threads a little bit more carefully. And I had no problems with it catching anything, even the French knots. It just stitched right over everything. And then once I got past this point, I sped it back up for the rest of the quilt. So let me hold this up here a little bit so that you can kind of see. There are a couple places where you can see, especially where it has stitched over the green, that you can see there is stitching over that. You have to be pretty close. I'm holding up to a camera that is zoomed in on it, and it is not really that noticeable, right? So if you want to just, and here it is like you would see it on a table or on a wall, you would never even notice that there is white thread on top of the embroidery. So if you don't want to be super careful, if you don't want to stop and start around your embroidery, then just stitch right over it. It will be fine. You can also do that on your home machine. If you are quilting on your regular home machine, you can stitch over that as well. But I have some recommendations if you are going to do that. This is, again, on the long arm, the regalia, and it just makes it so much faster and easier, right? But if you, here's the back. I wanted to show you guys the back. This is one of the prints from the collection, and it's just gorgeous, you guys, this pretty floral. I like doing florals on the back of a quilt. Do you? Okay, so if you are working on your home machine, then I recommend you can use a white thread. You don't have to buy something special, but if you would like to, I have grown very, very attached to using Aurifil. It's MT1, I think it's 1000. They make a invisible thread in white, and they make one in like a black. I've never used the black because I don't do much in the way of black quilts. You would have to have pretty much almost all dark fabrics. It shows up quite a bit on other fabrics. But if you use this kind of white, this is really invisible. You can hardly even see it on my hands here. That's what I use to quilt everything for the book. And I really like that I can use it all over my entire quilt, and it looks quilted. You can see the quilting texture, but you can't see that differences between, say, the navy fabric and the pink fabric because it's invisible, so it doesn't matter. You know, if you've got those strong contrasts of fabric in your quilt, it's still going to look great. So let me know, have you guys ever used invisible thread? How do you feel about it? Give me your thoughts. Okay, so Martha says that her Juki doesn't like the thread. Okay, I had another brand of thread that was also invisible, and my machine wasn't super fond of it. So just as a thought, maybe try a different brand and see if it's just all invisible thread or if you maybe have a different brand that might work. Oh, let's see. Pam says, yes, she's used it on florals. Good. I don't put the invisible thread in the bobbin because it's going to, well, this is just like a blossom. This is the bleached denim blossom, so it's a very light blue. But I just use regular white in my bobbin. Sorry, I was having trouble with the word bobbin. So I just used invisible regular thread at the back side because I didn't worry about that. So it was only on the top. So for this one, I did stitch. I was just doing a meandering pattern on this one. I kept it pretty simple. I did stitch up to this one. I went around it, but I did go in and do like a little swirl in the center. Let's see if you can even see that, if I can hold it. Can you guys see that? So it's hard to see because it is invisible thread and it really does look invisible, but you could easily just kind of mostly go around the wreath and then do like a little cut in and do just a little bit of quilting. The other thing you could do is, if you feel confident doing some free motion quilting, you could do like a smaller flower in the center, or quilt a little heart in there or something like that, and then go ahead and quilt the rest of your quilt. That would be really cute too. If you don't want to do a free motion kind of meander, you can use a pattern or something like that and stop and start when you get to the wreath and do something around it. Feel free to do that. That looks really great. I also wanted to show you another option for quilting. This is one of the other mini quilts in the book, and I used just a straight line cross-hatching quilt pattern on this one. Again, I used the invisible thread because I definitely was working with a large contrast here between these light prints and then this darker blue background. But you can see the lines. You can also see that I've had this folded in my little tub for all my book projects. But you can see how the grid is really fun and easy. And the way that I do this is, I'll kind of lean here. I might make a loud bang. No, it shouldn't. I thought I had some rulers over there in a stack. So what I would do with this one is, if you don't have, there are feet for your machine that you can add a little guide to, or you can use the laser or something like that. But if you don't have those, you don't have to buy anything different. You can use your long ruler if you have like a 6 by 24 or something like that. You can just, and I usually measure in the center of the quilt. Let me get this at an angle so that you guys can see it. I usually start in the center and work my way out, just like you would if you were kind of quilting on your machine with a meander or something. You want to start in the center and work out, because if you start on one side and then go to the other, you can end up with things kind of shifting in a funky way, and we don't want that, right? So you can just line up your ruler with the points. You can't see it, but it is lined up with the points of your quilt, and draw a line. You can use a air-soluble pen or a water-soluble pen. If you use the air-soluble pen, only draw 2 or 3 lines, go stitch them, come back and draw more lines, because if you draw them all on, by the time you get to your corners of your other quilt, like if you stitch down, you're not gonna have any lines left. Like, air soluble is so fast, at least the ones that I have found, they just don't last very long. So draw some lines, and it sounds like it takes a long time, but it really doesn't to do. So if you draw your lines, maybe draw 2 or 3 lines going this direction and 2 or 3 lines going this direction, stitch those down, come back and draw some more lines, and you can just decide how far apart you would like them. I mean, it's your quilt, right? So these are about a ½ an inch apart, but it would, and that's pretty small. So it would look great if it was 1 inch apart. You could do, this is a pretty plain grid, but you could do, 2 lines next to each other that are ½ an inch apart, and then skip a space, leave an inch space, and then do 2 more lines. So you could have some really interesting things going on. But the marked pen really gives you the stability to follow on your machine and keep your lines pretty straight. They're not going to be perfect because you're not doing it on a long arm that's, motorized and computerized for you. But I did this on my machine, and again, it's not perfect, but the grid looks pretty straight, right? Because I have drawn out my lines with the ruler. Now, if you do use a water-soluble pen, you will need to dampen the fabric before you give it away or display it or something to get the lines off, or you could throw it in the wash. Let's see. Donna says she's had trouble with the tension when she's tried invisible thread in her machine. Okay, well, that's fine. You guys don't have to use invisible thread by any means. You can definitely do these same methods with regular thread. Just choose one that kind of blends with both of your fabrics. I mean, I didn't use invisible thread with this mini quilt, and I've stitched over black fabric, but you can see it still looks really cute. You can see the little flower and swirly pattern here on the black. It doesn't matter, you know, it just is part of the charm of it. And if we're taking the time to quilt something, you know, we want people to notice that too. So you definitely do not have to use invisible thread. I'm just giving it to you as an option. You can definitely still even do the cross hatching, or you could do straight line quilting. You can do straight line quilting with that same method, using the ruler and the lines. And you can kind of use your, your blocks as your guide to make sure they're straight. So maybe line it up with your blocks and then draw your lines and go kind of that way. Straight line quilting looks really nice too. And it's not very time consuming. If you do straight line quilting, if you do straight line or crosshatch quilting, I recommend quilting one direction on, so you know, you'll sew down one line this way, turn your quilt around and sew opposite the other way. It just keeps it a little bit, keeps your quilt kind of from shifting all one direction and having funky lines on it. And before quilting, you will want to do some sort of basting, whether that means pinning it or use a basting spray or whatever you would like to do. Smaller quilts, you can even use fusible fleece if you want to. So that's another option, and then you don't have to baste anything. Well, you'll still want to do some sort of pinning to hold the back to it, the backing fabric on there. Dawn says, I wish I could do free motion. I just do grids or stitch in the ditch. Grids and stitch in the ditch look awesome, Dawn. I think it's a really clean look. So don't feel like that's kind of second class or anything like that. It's not. I'm going to switch back here 1 second. So don't feel like that is not good enough. But I encourage you, if it is something you want to learn, then just practice. You don't have to do it on a finished piece. Just grab, you know, some scrap fabric and some extra batting left over from a quilt and just play a little bit. If you're also wanting to learn, there are some cool rulers that you can use to do machine quilting with your home machine, not just a long arm machine. So check that out if that's something that you want to try too. I've done that too, and it's a little bit of a different skill, but the ruler does make it so that you have a guide to follow. So that might be an option, a fun option to check out as well. Donna said that happened to her with the air soluble pen. Yeah, I always think I have plenty of time to sew, and so I always get super eager and I draw all these lines and then I regret it because by the time I've gotten to them, they're gone. So I did make that mistake several years ago with an embroidered piece too. I thought, oh, I'll just you know, have the lines disappear after I've embroidered it, and yeah, that's really not a good idea. Do not do that. All right, let's see. Dolores says she uses her turning tool to mark the lines with crosshatch. That's a great idea. Connie said she's really enjoyed the video. No worries about being late. Either of the sew-alongs that the others mentioned from your book sound awesome. Okay, great. I'm super excited. And Connie likes the Aurifil 1000 too. Good. All right. Okay, so Martha asked about hanging the quilts up. Okay, I do have a fun trick for that. So what I like to do is I like to change out my mini quilts a lot. And just for varieties, I mean, I have some that I keep up all the time, but I especially like to do with my seasonal ones, I like to change them out. So if I'm gonna hang it on the wall, I will, if they're all around the same size, then you can go ahead and just put like a nail or a hook in the wall. But if they're not, you can use the tiniest little command strips, and they're clear, so that works easily. You know, the tiny, tiny little hooks, right? So put those on the wall, and then on the back side of your quilt, on the top, get those tiny safety pins and just put a safety pin on each end. These are mini quilts, so you don't need a lot of weight. I mean, they just hardly weigh anything, right? So put a safety pin through the back here, just under the binding, and don't put it all the way through your mini quilt. Just put it through the back and maybe a little bit of the batting. And then you can hook the safety pins through those command strip hooks, and it just hangs there and looks super cute. And then you can take it down, move your command strip if you want to change the size of the mini quilt that you have there. The other option is you could also, if you have a place where you like to hang them all the time, you could get those thin curtain rods and hang them on the wall, and then just get the little curtain clips, and so you could clip it under a thin rod, and that would look really cute too. I'm gonna do that for my entryway. I have a big full-size quilt on one wall, and not full-size like bed, but a throw-size quilt on one wall, and I have that hanging from a rod with the little clips. And then on the opposite wall, I'm gonna put a seasonal mini and change that out. So I'm gonna put a little rod there that I can just use clips too. So, but my favorite way to do it and change it out is the safety pin command strip hook method. Okay, Pam, what kind of rulers? Oh, for quilting rulers, you know, I would have to look up the brand that I've used. I can't remember her name. She does a lot of quilting rulers, and I will check it out and let you know, Pam. I'm sorry that I don't know her name off the top of my head. And Dolores said, take the safety pins out of your quilt when storing, can rust. Absolutely, yeah. I use the same safety pins for every quilt, so I just hang it, take the safety pin out, and then put the quilt away and use the safety pins in the next quilt. So I do change those, use the same safety pins every time, so they're not staying in the quilt. That's a great tip, Dolores. Oh, and Donna likes that for hanging. Great. All right. You guys, that's it. I've had so much fun sewing up the Walking in Sunshine quilt with you guys. I will let you know as soon as we have picked another mini quilt to do. And if you want to sew along with me for a regular size quilt, join me for the Meadowland quilt. I will have Sweet Acres fabric soon. It is a fat quarter friendly. You can use Sweet Acres fabric. It will look adorable. You can also sew along with any other fabric you'd like. And I do have quilt kits coming for this collection and this quilt. Well, this quilt in this collection. So it would be a kit that includes everything that you need. It comes in a darling box, and it will be available as soon as I get them. Those usually come a little bit after the fabric, which is why our sew along doesn't start until the end of April. So check that out if you want to sew along with us. The only thing you'd have to buy if you buy the quilt kit is the backing fabric. So I would love to sew that up with you, or you can make it up with me in person in August at Stitch in Heaven in Texas. So choices, so many choices. All right, you guys, have a fabulous week. I will see you Monday if you're sewing along with the Country Daisies quilt. And thanks so much for tuning in and sewing along with me. You guys know if you have any questions about quilting or embroidery or anything else, you can always send me an email, bev@flamingotoes.com. I'll talk to you later. Stay warm, everybody. Have a great week. Oh, wait. You guys, I'm not getting off. I have one more thing. All right. One more thing I'm going to show you guys. I have a fun, so one of, from my book tour, Make It Mini. Sorry, this is a totally, forgot I was going to show you guys. Don't leave. I forgot I was going to show you one of the gals that joined in with the Make It Mini blog tour from Riley Blake Designs. Maddie made up this Walking on Sunshine quilt, and she curved the corners of the quilt. So take a look at this. This is her version of the mini quilt, and she rounded her corners, and all she did was she quilted it, and then after quilting, she chose a bowl and just used that as a guide to trim off those corners and curve those corners away so that it's a pretty little rounded corner. This is a Christmas version, and it is such a darling. I don't know. There's something about, I love a curved corner mini quilt, right? But the fact that it really ties in with our curved blocks, it really looks great. So I forgot that I meant to show you that, you guys. I'm so sorry. It was a last minute thing, but it's an option for you. Really easy to do. Do it after quilting. Quilt your mini quilt, then cut off your corners, then sew your binding on. You sew your binding on just like normal. You'll go slow around those corners. You don't have to miter them. Just ease your binding around those corners and it'll go on like a peach. So anyway, I wanted to show you guys that. I'm sorry that I didn't have it earlier in the video. I just completely forgot that I'd loaded that for you guys. So another option for you to finish your quilts. Now, I'll sign off. You guys have a great week. I'll see you later. Thanks.